Okay, so let's give these kids some encouragement. They're wearing grass skirts, that takes a lot of courage right there. Even the boys, I like this.
Next to you.
And it talks about her story, which is our version of the history of the stories of many different girls in many different regions. While their names are fictional, their stories and experiences are based on the true accounts of girls in different regions of Africa. So we hope you enjoy. Thank you.
From Egypt in North Africa. Meet Habiba. Habiba is 12 years old. She enjoys chatting with her friends, playing with dolls, and going to school. This all changes when she is married to a stranger. While child marriage is illegal in Egypt as of recently, the practice of marriage brokering continues as poor families marry their daughters to Arab visitors. These sham marriages can last for a few hours or years. Habiba's body in exchange for money.
My piece is on West Africa, Nigeria. Meet Apunamu. Apunamu was a 15-year-old girl just finishing her freshman year in the government secondary school in the town of Chibok in Borno State. On April 14, 2014, she was about to start studying for exams until a group of terrorists from Boko Haram forcefully abducted her and 275 other students. 4 years later, while some girls have been found, Apunamu and others are still missing. Though her whereabouts are unknown, she may be the bride of a terrorist, or she may be forced to become a suicide bomber for their cause. Wherever she may be, we know for sure that her childhood is over.
Southern Africa, the Republic of South Africa. Meet Kensani. Kensani Maseko was a smart, confident university student who fought for the rights of women in her country as an anti-rape activist. Kensani had big dreams for her future, as well as that of her country, but after being raped by a fellow student, she took her life. While Kensani is dead, her legacy lives on through the protests she inspired so that girls her age and younger may not face the same fate.
Meet Mercy. She's from Kenya in East Africa. Mercy is a member of the Maasai community, a strong tribe that values family and tradition, including a special rite of passage ceremony for young boys and girls. As she turns 9, Mercy will soon be circumcised as a custom that marks a girl's journey into womanhood. Female genital mutilation is a painful practice that results in excessive bleeding and occasionally death. Mercy must enter this process to be considered a woman in her community.
Meet Lola, who is from the Central African Republic, located in Central Africa. Like many children her age, Lola wanted to go to school. However, her family could not afford the school fees after paying for her brother's education. So she decided to join an armed militia after being promised wages, money she could use to pay her school fees, and return to school like her brothers. Instead, she was sexually and physically abused every day. Children like Lola, who are recruited to join armed gangs, are often exploited. Girls are used as wives instead of earning wages that could bring them back to school.
So we hope you all enjoyed our presentations and learned a little bit more about the problems facing girls all over Africa. No story is more powerful than the other, and while these girls are separated by borders, they face problems that represent the same plight. Education is a factor that could drastically change the outcome of their stories. So educate our girls while they're still young. That is one reason why Access is partnering with the Send Betty to School campaign, a Zambian campaign focused on raising awareness for the education of Zambian girls. So this is our mission. Whether it be Habiba, Apunamu, Kasani, Mercy, or Lola, it is still important that we educate our girls and we learn about the problems facing different girls in Africa so we can help them all.
To be part of this event this evening. Thank you, Access Africa, for the invitation and for the spotlight on the Send Betty to School campaign. Now, I am a co-founder of One Dream Foundation, a foundation we founded with my husband, Oliver. Oliver? Yeah. So we started One Dream Foundation in 2007 with the purpose of sending school supplies to Africa. And then Send Betty to School was spotlighted in 2015 by a friend, George Mutonga, who is not here. He was supposed to come, probably is on his way. And Sipo has been an ardent supporter of the Bettys that we picked. The purpose was to pick young girls that we could send to school, and I'll explain why. She has been a supporter, and so early this year, she contacted me to send the story of this Bettys. She's been sending school fees and school supplies, but then she didn't get probably the whole story, so she asked me to write it up and to share with Access Africa. She told me about Access for Africa, which was very interesting because I went on Google and read about it, and I was so happy to know that there's such an organization doing stuff for the kids in America with African descent. And then she told me, don't get your hopes high. They pick from various organizations, so we could be picked or not. So I said, well, just to be mentioned in the selection, I'm happy. If we're not picked, that's fine, but we hope we get picked to be the organization they spotlight this year. And so, when was it? Early in the morning, I wake up and my phone was buzzing with our messages. They picked us, please send pictures of the Bettys, and it was very exciting. I was so happy. Thank you so much for this moment. And thank you, Sipo, for channeling it all. Thank you, my people who came through, braved it out to come and support, and thank you everyone for coming. So, Wandering Foundation started, our purpose was to say, like I said earlier, sending school supplies. And why? Because most of my life, I grew up in Zambia, Africa, with a single parent, my mother. My father died when I was, I think, 4 years old. Now, I hope we're together. So my mother didn't have much education. When I was born, we were in a city with my father who had a job. My father died. My mother could not sustain her life in the city because she needed to pay bills. She couldn't afford it. So because of lack of education, she couldn't have a steady job to feed us in the city. So we had to move back to the village where my mother used to live before my mother married her. The village, it was easy life because it was farming and growing vegetables. You let them grow, then you take them to the market to sell, that kind of life. When we moved there, I was young, but of course after a year or so, I started school. Me and my sisters, it was 6 of us. Mother with no job, all 6 kids, no husband, my father. So we were there in the village. Started going to school. It was 10 miles of walking to school, one way. Now, one of those days, I mean, when I go to school on a Monday, I could not go back on a Tuesday because I was walking back home on my toes. I could not, because I was going to school barefooted. And walking back, my feet would not sustain the trip back. 20 miles of going to school and back. So Tuesday I would miss school, I'd go back on a Wednesday when my feet rested. And one of the regular days, I mean, that was acceptable. I would come back home on my toes, sleep Tuesday, go back Wednesday. One evening, I'm walking back to school, we needed to cool off the riverbank. It was a regular thing we did in the heat. We go by the riverbank to cool off. This one day, we're cooling off, I didn't realize I lost my pencil. I did not have a school bag. I folded my books and carried them under my armpits. When playing, my pencil must have slipped off my books. I didn't realize it. I get home that evening. I wanted to do my homework. I couldn't find my pencil. And of course I knew I have my mother. I'll just go to my mother and tell her to get me another pencil. That easy. So I go to my mother, explained I lost my pencil. She beat me. I didn't realize how big the issue was. How do you lose your pencil? I do not have money to buy you another one. And your father died. Now, that statement, your father died, I heard it so many times over. Whenever there was any panic concerning money, she would remind me that my father died, she won't be able to afford those things. And so I was beat, go to bed for being careless, go to bed hungry, and I slept thinking, how do I go back to school the next day or a day after without a pencil because nobody had 2 pencils in our class. And if I go with none, I won't be able to write. And so early morning, I remembered waking up so early to retrace my footsteps and went back to the riverbank to find it, and I found my green little thing in the grass, my pencil. I found it. Very big. It was very nice. Yes, you can clap. It was a big day. So I found my pencil, very happy, and continued. So we fast forward that. I completed my grade 12. I got to college. I worked and I moved to South Africa and I met my husband there. We got married. When we got married with my husband, he was moving to the US to study. That was the first thing he told me. I'm going to North Carolina, I'm going to school. Okay, he comes a year after I joined him. And that week, he was orienting me about America. He says, I'll show you how America is very accommodating. Depending on your income, they have grocery stores you can shop. And so he took me to the dollar store.
Hey, don't judge.
So he takes me to the dollar store. He says, he's an international student. He had 2 jobs. And so the dollar store was his...
Yeah.
Yeah, so he used to shop there. It was affordable and all that. So we had the dollar store. He's showing me, this place, everything is $1. And okay, really? He says, yeah, depending on your income, you can go to expensive stores, you can come here and do your grocery shopping. So we are shopping, and one of the hours, my eye just, I got caught on the pencils. 20 pencils, I didn't know how much they were, but I just saw the yellow pencils. I go to him, I'm thinking, are you telling me these pencils are also $1? He says, yes. Now, my beating happened when I was in 1st grade. I didn't realize that beating had left some marks in my life because those yellow pencils, I thought, $1 for how many pencils? 20 pencils that time. That was very exciting to me.
Wow.
He didn't understand, and I thought, 20, I can give 20 girls, they will go to school happy with a full pencil. And what a big deal. For him, it's like, yeah, they're $1, what's the excitement? But that time, I had just started work making $6.15. And that was the minimum wage then. Then I realized my $6, actually my 1 hour from the 30-hour week I was working, I could buy 100 pencils. That was $5 over 100 pencils. So then from 30 hours of my week, I was making like $150. I would take $5 and buy 100 pencils. And that, my little change, I would send a little box to a rural school, the school that I used to go to, and give out to 100 young girls, full pencils. And that was the beginning of the Wandering Foundation. So we started sending those little things, pencils, from $5. Friends heard about it, and they started donating pens and underwear, which was another big problem I had growing up, especially when you hit puberty as a young girl in Africa. You would wash your underwear every evening and put it under the bed. It's not even a joke. So the next morning I'm wearing it, it's almost damp wet. To dry on the way to school. Are you laughing because you agree with me or because that was true? She relates. Under the bed, the one never was dry because it was one, and hard when you hit puberty. So we started doing underwear, started doing toothbrushes and toothpaste from the dollar store, which was also very exciting because toothbrushes also, I used to use it, a stick.
Yeah.
I would chew on it, and then we are brushing our teeth while walking to school. I found the dollar store would give me 5 or 6 toothbrushes for $1. So we started shipping those. And then in the process, 2015, we put a spotlight on how can we do the sending of school supplies, let's pick specific kids we can focus on and empower. And that's when we did the Send Betty to School campaign. I mentioned George Pishman, who's a young friend of ours. We decided to pick 150 girls that we sponsor every year. And we pay their school fees, we buy their school supplies, and usually it's $100 per kid. That pays their annual school fees plus school supplies. Now, let somebody carry a school bag instead of folding their books under their armpit. And so we've been doing that since then. What we've realized is those kids have reason to go to school. They're excited. They're motivated to go to school because of that. We do Skype them once in a while just to talk to them. They decided to change their names to Betty's, and that's why I sent Betty to school. It came from somehow, I'm Betty. So we have 150 girls. These kids are so excited. They look forward. They are happy. They have reason to study. And if we stop halfway into sponsoring them into school, they can easily get married, because mostly are orphaned kids that we picked, or really poor. I had my mother, but my mother was really poor that she couldn't afford our school fees. I managed to evade, I was just telling Kim how many times I evaded marriage, young marriage, whenever I went to my grandmother. My aunt took me away from my grandmother because I would have been married at 15 like my mother. So when you are poor, life, I don't want to use the word not fair, but just the opportunities are not equal. And so my grandmother thought getting married young was easy way for us to feed of her, to feed the rest of, if I find a man with money, it will be easier on everybody. So, yeah, I was lucky that my aunt took me out and she was a teacher, so I managed to go into school and proceed and graduate. So what Access Africa are doing is such a tremendous job. What you guys are doing, please don't lose it, okay? And you can start giving from nothing. I started giving from the dollar store, $5. You can give from $1. You don't have to have a lot. You don't have to wait until you have, right now somebody has 2 pairs of shoes, there's one girl with 0 pairs. Probably you have 5 underwear, somebody has 0. So it starts with those little things. Giving doesn't have, you don't have to wait to have so much. And I'm just proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of what has happened this evening. I am so glad. I hope you continue with this, whatever you're doing, this nurturing. Thank you so much for this evening and this platform, guys.
I see the way you love. I want to live like you. I want to love the way you do. I don't wanna wait forever. I know that your plans are greater. I am ready now, 'cause there's nothing better, no. And now I know. I wanna live fully alive. I wanna live fully alive. I wanna live for you, everything I do. 'Cause I wanna live fully alive.
Good energy, come on.
I see the way you live. I see the way you love. I want to live like you. Oh, I want to love the way you do it. I don't wanna wait forever. I know that your plans are greater. I am ready now, 'cause there's nothing better, no. And now I know. I wanna live fully alive. I wanna live fully alive. I wanna live for you, everything I do. 'Cause I wanna live fully alive.
Yeah, let's give a big round of applause, guys. Are you ready? When you're ready, sir, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Give a round of applause. Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Excellent. Beautiful. Big round of applause, please. There's more. The remix. Can you get a big round of applause for Fundraiser? Thank you very much. When you're ready.